Hey guys, welcome to another IndieTips.com tutorial here on UglyMcGregor. If you are a regular, I must apologize for my absence. I've been very busy filming my long-awaited project, as well as actually trying to live a normal life in between that, and I've been failing. Today we are going to look at taking a 2D still and making it appear 3D. Now even if you know this technique, stay tuned, as we're going to look at an important visual term later on, which may make your shots more dynamic. I'm 100% positive, as a DIY filmmaker and independent filmmaker, you will one day have use for this technique, because at one point, whether it's for a pitch or a presentation or part of your film, or if you want to bring a picture of your partner somewhat alive when you're traveling away, you're going to use a still or something, and employing this technique easily makes the image more dynamic and interesting to look at. The software we will be using is Adobe After Effects and Adobe Photoshop. So we're going to take our still, your image, and an important note, because we will be increasing the scale of our still, it's important that you try to use the highest resolution you have of that still, and likewise it's also just as important to have multiple layers in your still. For example, in this one we have our foreground, our midground, and our background layers that we can separate. We'll bring our still into Photoshop, and with somewhat precision we will cut around the three layers. Now this could be done in After Effects, but with Photoshop you get a lot more precision. So we're going to speed this up. Now secondly, once this is done, we're going to need to clone stamp the areas behind our layers so they look somewhat complete with the object separated. It doesn't need to be masterful, so it looks like an exact representation of what it would look like without that layer. So now we have our three layers. Let's bring this into After Effects. We'll make a new 1080p 24 frames per second composition, and we're going to make it 10 seconds for the sake of things. Now this is where I'm going to go ahead and talk about parallax. In terms of visuals, parallax is the effect whereby the position or direction of an object appears to differ when viewed from different positions, e.g. through the viewfinder and the lens of a camera. So if I break this down, so you may notice when you're on a train, the houses in front of you move a lot quicker than the hills or the city in the background. And that's what we're looking to do here. We're going to separate the layers in terms of Z-space, so when our camera moves, the layers at the front move faster than the ones at the back, and this gives the audience, or whoever is going to be viewing this video, the perception of 3D. Likewise, when you're filming in the real world, you may have a dolly shot planned out, and even though everything is set up to how you wanted it in your head, something may be missing. So add an element in the foreground for some eye candy, like a lamp, or maybe some cans of beer, whatever it is, where, like, obviously in context to the scene, and it'll help give your composition some visual depth. Okay, so let's get to this. First off, we want to make sure these layers are 3D. Now we need to separate our layers in Z-space. We're going to push our background back and bring our foreground object forward. We'll add a camera with a 50mm lens and a null object. We're going to parent the camera up to the null object. You may now notice that they're out of proportion, so we need to bring back these to the right size. So if you hit S on your keyboard for scale, and levels these out until they look like the original still. Okay, so now we have our layers set. Let's animate the camera for a swift crane up. We'll move the position down and click the stopwatch. This is going to initiate a keyframe. Then we'll move a few seconds up, and we're going to move the camera position up. There you go. I'm just going to correct this as I haven't scaled it properly, and as you can see, you can still see the background. Okay, so let's render this out, and here we go. Now I was using this for part of my crowdfunding project for the film I'm doing at the moment, and this was an introduction, a part of the introduction, and I think without kind of the animation, the introduction would have been quite boring. So it is a really nice effect if you want to add a still or to anything. It could even be part of the film. Could have that sense of where Hermione is telling the story of the three brothers in the Deathly Hallows. Could, play with it, see what you can do. Anyway, more tutorials on the way. I've had so many requests, I've got so many in the backlog. As always, I will catch you soon. Comment, like, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your family. Catch you soon.